All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for this live virtual session. My name is Jerry, and I want to welcome you for this discussion today. We're talking about the ROI of healthy habits, why daily wellness can be an organization's best kept secret. So today, employees are really dealing with a lot of issues when it comes to their health and wellness. There is burnout, absenteeism, disengagement, and all of these ultimately, have a business cost as well, right? And we're seeing more progressive organizations really addressing some of these issues with integrating preventive practices and healthy habits into their day-to-day work environment rather than doing sporadic on and off wellness programs. But one of the fundamental questions that still lingers around is how can you ensure that this is a sustained, engaged impact that organizations see? To discuss this, we have an expert panel with us, and I'd like to welcome them right now on screen. We have with us Abhishek Mehrotra, CHRO of UB, and Abhishek is responsible for leading UB's people and culture function, developing and executing the organization's human resources strategy to take the company to the next phase of strategic growth. And he comes with a diverse experience and has worked with organizations like IBM, Nokia, Huawei, and ByteDance. Welcome, Abhishek. It's great to have you with us today.
Good evening, and thank you for having me here.
Absolutely. We also have with us Purna Mahidhara, who is the strategic leader and specializing in people operations and HR digital transformation at Altimetric, I'm sorry. And she has a strong focus on integrating technology and talent management practices, and she helps drive modernized HR processes and enhance employee experience and boost organizational efficiency. Great to have you with us, Purna. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Jerry, for the warm welcome.
We also have with us Jitin Bhasin, who is the founder and CEO of SaveIN. And Jitin is a 2X entrepreneur and seasoned leader in financial services with a deep passion in building high impact, sustainable businesses. As the founder and CEO of SaveIN, it's a platform that's on a mission to make private healthcare accessible and affordable for Indians. And they're India's largest outpatient fintech healthcare ecosystem with over 7,000 healthcare and wellness practitioners embedded with finance at the point of care. And under the SaveIN umbrella, he's also leading the growth of WellUp, a modern day employee first health and wellness platform that helps organizations offer preventive care and everyday medical access. Great to have you with us, Jitin. Thank you for joining
Thank
us.
you. Thank you, Jerry. Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. So we'll start the conversation, but before we do that, I do want to announce to our audience that you can post questions at any time during the discussion. We'll take up these audience questions towards the end of the session. Yeah, feel free to use the chat window at the right-hand side of your screen and post at any time to share your thoughts and experiences with us. So with that, we'll open up for our first question to our panel today. So over the years, we've really seen the conversation on wellness sort of building up, right? So especially the post-COVID years, we've really seen companies move from, just offering health camps to gym perks to offering something more holistic. But how are you seeing this evolution of wellness so far, and how are you seeing the growth from the traditional to maybe modern day approaches today? And what are some of the top of mind challenges that you have as business and HR leaders? Abhishek, can we start with you?
Yeah, sure. So I think while this has always been wellness as a topic has always been discussed in corporate circles in various aspects of life, even our own personal lives, right? Back home, I think irrespective of the generations, there always been has been a focus on wellness. I think as far as corporate world is concerned, and I think I link it to the way our society and our overall ecosystem evolves. So whether it was 25 years back when you used to have those team offsites as the big big thing, or say once in a year a culture survey to tell how good or bad you are doing on wellness front, to now instant recognition, instant solutions. um, I think irrespective of the technology, I think something which has still not come up to a level which I would personally desire to have in see around me is um, there's a lack of what I call personalization to approach. So, and we all talk about different genres of people in the same organization, like three generations working together. And see, this is nothing new; it was there always, even earlier. But I think that lack of personalization to the whole approach. So, what a 40-year-old with a family and an aging parents would need versus a 27-year-old person who's going to walk into the workforce out of college is very, very different. So whether it is insurance, whether it is the benefits that you provide, whether it is the overall all the wellness and the engagement activities that you do, the audience is different, the genre is different, but that personalization is not there. So that I think is the one of the biggest pieces that I see still has a lot of room to improve. I think a lot of it is reactive rather than being proactive. So, for example, while somebody would go and do a what do you call, let's say, a health checkup drive, right? But that health checkup drive typically happens because either a it was part of a calendar which had to be executed, or it is okay, some event happened and somebody said, okay, why we don't get all our employees checked up, right? So you do that checkup drive, but it has to be a way of life. So wellness, in my view, one of the biggest gap is till the time we see this entire wellness as one of the benefits of the perks for our population to stay or come and join us. Wellness has to be a way of life. It's like this, like AI is becoming a way of life. It's no longer a good to have. So wellness has to be thought about in corporate world as a way of life, which means to the last piece, is it the third vector where I think it is not coming as much is your integration in the larger ecosystem. So is are you seeing wellness as one of the buckets of benefits or perks, or you are integrating it in all your conversation discussions, like you do performance assessment, like you do compensation revision, like you talk about career planning? Are you doing wellness planning for your employees? When I say planning means, are you integrating it in your day-to-day life? So I think those are two three areas, like I said, which where I still feel that while there's a lot of work that is already happening, even at UB we are doing, but I think there's still a long way to go.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that, Abhishek. I think that's really good. I think from one few touch points to more continuous and the lack of personalization becoming an issue, a very reactive approach becoming an issue, and figuring out how to integrate it in the culture of the company. I think that's great focus areas. Jitin, could you share your thoughts on this evolution?
Yeah, Jerry, I think just building on to what Abhishek said, I believe that traditional healthcare programs which have existed in Indian corporates and the requirements and the take up rates of such programs, I believe that they have undergone a significant change after COVID 19. So, in our lifetimes, I think COVID was a tectonic event. It was an inflection point where people understood the cost of preventive care, the cost of being healthy rather than finding yourself confined to a hospital bed. So, when something as deadly as COVID came about, which happens, let's say, in centuries, the word on the street was if you are healthy, you can possibly endure it much better as compared to if you have some comorbidities. And in India, like diabetes and hypertension, these are like extremely pervasive non-communicable diseases now. So I think the big shift that I think is happening or ought to happen is that traditionally companies were comfortable or okay with having, let's say, hospitalization covers as part of their mainstay of their employee wellness and care. But after COVID 19, I think people have understood. And as an economy, also, we are evolving, we are becoming more ambitious. So, the need to prioritize personal care, wellness, preventive care, aspects of mental health having the best diet possible to ensure that you can discover your best self, looking very good. Like, today people want to prioritize how good they're looking because it may have a direct impact on their mental state and therefore productivity at work. I think these things which used to be deemed as elective, or they were deemed as like optional, right? That it's okay. Like, I think as Abhishek said, you could do a drive where you could encourage people to undergo, let's say, a blood checkup at work, but it wasn't part of the mainstream program. It wasn't structured in a way that I could use it at the place and time of my choosing. So I think the entire wellness piece is moving from what I call as lifespan to health span. So earlier we were happy tracking lifespan. Okay, the average age of an Indian, let's say, has moved up to 70 or 75 years. But what are your healthy years? For how many years are you delivering at your productive best? And in the context of, let's say, somebody spending time with an employer, and a young demography like India, where more than 60% people are under the age of 35, there are various requirements which may exist. For people between 20 to 30, it could be different. For 30 to 40, it could be different. So my view is that today, even hospital insurance is offered only by one-fifth of Indian corporates, as per the research that we have, and when we started building the employee product that you spoke about. And within that one-fifth also, the sensitization towards wellness is becoming extremely pronounced. And I think with that understanding, I see that this is going to undergo a significant change, and take-up rates will expand significantly.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think thank you, Jitin, for contextualizing this, the aspect that it's holistic care, right? So it's not just your wellness programs, but it's also what you eat, how you look, how you feel, that ultimately leads to you being productive at work. Purna, your thoughts on this, please. It'll be wonderful to hear from you.
Yeah, I would like to add to Abhishek and Jitin, and rather repeating the same. Wellness for organization should not be a checkbox or a nice to have. This should be a must have in the org, org, organizations, and people should treat this as a proactive approach instead a reactive approach. Today, most of the employees ask for annual health checkups, proactive health checkups, but when we add them into our package, that becomes a push on the HR team, where we push it, please get it done, please get it done. Instead, I have not seen any employee doing that proactively. That's a shift we want. We want wellness to be embedded into everyday work, instead of that being a tick mark at the end of the year. That's my
Absolutely,
view.
absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that, Purna. I think, yeah, very often when speaking to HR leaders, they do ground this challenge, even wellness emails, people don't open them, so they want more, people to also, employees also to take a more proactive approach to health. And like Jitin also noted, I think there is that awareness, of course, within after COVID that, you have to take charge of your health to really, survive. So I think we're seeing more of that shift. But thinking about your role as HR leaders and business leaders, Abhishek, what are some steps we need to take, to make daily wellness practices a thing at work, right? So, what do you think HR leaders like yourself must do?
I think while there is no sure short way to kind of say this will work, and see, just to kind of put it in context, like many other areas of life, wellness is a journey, right? You continuously evolve with time. It's like your own personal fitness, right? um, for some of it is a way of life since day one. For many others, it's a event, like what Jatin said. COVID was an event which brought this fundamental shift in the thought process. So some of us in our personal lives also, when we get hit by something which was not expected in the family or ourselves, that's the time we say, okay, now I'm going to pick up my wellness goal. So sometimes it's physical health, sometimes mental health, and so on. So I think for any organization of scale and size, irrespective of the size, I think the first things is that you have to constantly keep in mind that you need to look at incremental improvements, right? So like I use this word somewhere, that it's like a marathon that you run in sprints, right? It will never be a perfect day, and it will never be a perfect score, but you keep on improving. So I think one thing very important for organization is whatever program you're doing, small or big, right, have a lot of incremental improvement goals rather than taking a one shot big bang goal. It never works. And why it never works is because, to the point that I said earlier, because you have different genres of people in the organization at the same point of time. It is supposed to have a different need and a different way of looking at things. Their perspective will be very different than what me and you might have, right? So that's one. And communicate consistently, to the point that Purna was saying, and I kind of agree with her. It should not be an HR agenda. It should be the leadership agenda. It should be the cultural agenda. It should be your way of life in the org, which you are measuring and bringing out success stories. So, first things, make sure that it's hyper personalized as much as possible. So it's like this. Does any one of us ever wanted someone to tell us how to operate an Instagram or a Zomato or an Amazon? Nobody taught us, right? It's a need, it's a pull, which made us do. So I think same way is wellness or anything, that if you personalize it, there will be an automatic pull to it, to whatever you are successful at. Measure incremental improvement and tell the org, okay, these are the success stories that have already come out. The second way, what I've seen working very well, is ERGs, smaller groups. So whether it's the sports committee in your organization, which is organizing events, or it's a wellness group, or it's a runners club, or it's a cyclist club, or it's a music band. Create a lot of small but diverse platforms. So the role of an organization is to create a lot of these platforms. Let people drive it. You don't need an HR person, you don't need a sponsor from the leadership group to do it. It never works, believe me. Sometimes it works, most of the time it fails, right? The moment you get some leader to run this, it by and large it loses the shine, unless it's the personal passion of that leader. Okay, so have a lot of these folks in your org who are passionate about it to do it. Some things will go on good for some time and some things will die off, but then eventually something else will come up. So do a lot of these experiments, have these ERGs do it, and make it very simple and low barrier entry point, right? So for example, now you have all these wellness apps and a lot of wellness partners who, beyond just insurance, will give you links to, okay, go and have a gym membership, or you have a discounted scheme on some meditation or yoga program. So now technology is enabling a lot of it, so use that. So I think these 2 3 things, like having incremental measurements and publishing it and communicating the success stories in the org, have a lot of employee driven things rather than HR or leadership driven things, and create as many diverse platforms across physical health, mental health, uh, engagement activities, and see which one thrives. Not everything will thrive, but something will thrive, right? So
Right.
do these 3 4 things continuously, bring it as part of your day-to-day life, and then you will see if nothing else, you will see more vibe in the org, more buzz in the org,
Yeah.
and that itself is a lot of measure to tell, yeah, there is a success story that's happening.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that, Abhishek. I think it's very helpful to even think about where to begin if you've not begun this journey, right? Take incremental small steps, communicate consistently. It should not really be an HR agenda, but a org agenda and a culture agenda. And think about, I like this idea about the ERG, smaller groups, right? Find people who are really passionate to drive this and let them experiment also along the journey. And I think I want to double down on one of the points that you spoke about, which is on creating this hyper personalization bit, right? So, Jitin, your experience of working with a number of companies in this space, also you're aware that it's not a one size fits all. So how are you thinking about it from a service provider perspective? What kinds of solutions are sort of you're exploring to customize wellness solutions?
Yeah, I think personalization is essential to take up rate, as I say, within the organization. So, our experience has been that it is important to list events where you can influence outcomes for an employee or their family members when it comes to healthcare and wellness. And if you see, the highest frequency events under the umbrella of healthcare or wellness probably are as follows. One is doctor consultation. So, an average family of four or five may end up requiring 8 to 10 doctor consultations in a year. This could be for the employee himself or herself, or it could be for family members, immediate members, where they may be providing care, etc. So I think creating that personalized experience, and maybe in the form of a mobile app, because today people are so habituated to using mobile apps that if you could create a seamless experience, that you should not wait. If you have a medical issue, if you want to speak to a practitioner, you can pick up your phone, you can choose the practitioner that you want to talk to and get the right advice in a timely manner. I think that is impact. And so creating list of frequent use cases, then it comes to preventive checkups, or let's say dental checkups, because the fact is you have 32 teeth, so the instances of you having some requirement for one of those is quite high. So I think our experience is that forward looking organizations are trying to map the most frequent healthcare and wellness events. It could be as simple as something like a diet plan. Now, I may want to go on a good diet to improve health outcomes for myself or for my family. So, if you list down all the important and frequent healthcare and wellness requirements, and then if you enable your employee group in the form of, let's say, a mobile app, that it should be available at their, on their fingertips, and not necessarily, let's say, in a camp that may be organized. If I want to do a blood checkup on a certain day, I could call for somebody and they could take the sample from my doorstep, and I can get it in a private setup without getting exposed to any scrutiny or, let's say, peer pressure. I think that is personalization, as Abhishek also talked about. So in our experience, in our view, a lot of forward looking organizations are trying to ensure that the most important and most frequent healthcare experiences, which don't require you to be hospitalized, by the way, because data tells you that less than 5% of employees get hospitalized anyway. And I think in a young country like India, the acute requirements of getting into a hospital are far and few. So I think if you map frequent use cases, you make those facilities and services available in a personalized, discrete, private, and comfortable ecosystem, possibly in the form of a mobile app or video consultations, or at home, let's say, investigations for healthcare. I think those are extremely impactful, and the benefits can be pronounced. And Abhishek talked about vibe. So I think an organization can build a lot of strong vibe by inculcating that culture that, look, we care for you, we provide tools to you at your fingertips, which can enable you to achieve superior health outcomes. I think that is extremely important. The impact part and the community take up rate, I think that is very important.
Absolutely. I think all of the aspects that you spoke about, it lands on that one individual, right? Whether it's your diet, whether it's your checkups, what are your next steps? Ultimately, it's something that we all have to work with the individual or the employee in question. Purna, how are you thinking about this, and what kind of offerings are you sort of working with as well? Can you hear us, Purna? You are on mute. Sorry.
Second, I am not on mute.
Yeah, now you're on. Yeah,
Am I
we can hear
audible,
you now.
Jerry?
Yeah. Yes, Purna,
Okay,
we can hear you
I
now.
lost you for 30 seconds.
Sure. Okay. So I was just asking about the question on personalization, Purna. How are you thinking about, employee personalization when it comes to wellness programs?
Okay, personalization in the current AI scenario comes where AI can drive hyper personalization by learning from the usage pattern, sentiment data, employee profile, where AI not just people go for a health checkup, sleep tracking, and all that. That's the way I see hyper personalization in the current generation, where employees can build their own wellness toilets, they can build their own wellness journey by allocating the funds where they want to use. If I want to use it for a gym, I want to use it for a annual health checkup. This can be customized basis the employee need. That's where I see
Absolutely.
AI's role in hyper personalization in wellness programs.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that, Purna. I think in today's world, given the availability of all these tools at your disposal, I think people have a lot more options. But as I was speaking to some HR leaders, I think last week, we should also build that awareness amongst employees also, right? When to use AI and how much to rely on. So, I think that's a very useful input. Thank you for sharing that. Abhishek, I want to touch on one thing that you spoke about a little earlier, and I think it's sort of important to address from a leadership standpoint. You're right, right? So, which is how do you make this talk of wellness not just a HR agenda, but also a leadership agenda and a culture agenda? How do you work with business leaders to make this happen? Any sort of best practices that you would like to share on that front?
Uh, so see, it's see, as an organization, and I can talk about UB here on how we think. As an organization, every organization uh, has to decide what exactly wellness means for you and where do you want to invest. See, every organization would be limited by budgets, no matter whether you are a big MNC or you are a young startup, right? So now you need to prioritize what works for you as an organization, given the demographics, given the conviction that the leadership has in that agenda. Like for UB, I think one of the things that we are very, very clear, and this comes from the founder and then all of us as the leadership group, that wellness for us, and within the wellness, times when employee need us the more, employee or the families will need us the more, moments that matter is the most important thing for us. So that's the reason we have a very I'll not say different, but a very generous approach to when it comes to things like medical insurance, like life insurance, um, like people on maternity, parental insurance, so on and so forth, and then the overall wellness agenda. So for us, uh, the overarching principle or the conviction is that I may not have a lot of freebies in my org, which traditionally some other places, let's say like free food. We won't have a free food, not because it's not about affordability. It's about, okay, we don't want to invest on free food or a lounge chair in office maybe, but I do want to invest when my employee or the family is going to need in times of need. So like we have something beyond the insurance. We have one of the best insurance covers in the country, among the top 1 or 2% organizations that provide that kind of cover of 8 lakh and more, right? But we also have something as a medical loan, which is in the event of somebody, I'll not call it a medical loan because it's not a loan. It's like a upfront money that if insurance is not able to cover some exigency, then people can avail that. There is no interest charge and they can pay back in 12 to 24 months as part of the salary whenever they want that deduction to start. So it's like, now that's a call we have taken as an org because we believe that is what we require and what we believe in the organization. So I think the first thing is, what do you genuinely believe in as an organization? Where do you want to invest? Now, once that principle is clear, then you should link it to all the process and the policies that are associated with that. and enable it. So, and in any organization, there are leaders that come from various walks of life, from their own previous experience, right? And they would have seen certain aspect working in a particular organization, but when they walk into your organization, is the onus on the organization to first set the context of what this organization is about and whether this will work for us or not. Because all of us have seen some phenomenal practices in different parts, but not everything will work probably, let's say, today in UB. So contextualizing and getting the leadership buy-in, the first step is tell them, explain them what you really stand for and what you really want. And then definitely have what I call not only the ROI, but also the VOI. VOI means value on the investment. Okay. That's very, very important, because not everything will give you a metric improvement tomorrow. And sometimes some things are not measurable, like your employer brand, your vibe in the office. It's not measurable every time. So that's what I call value and investment. So do people really value the insurance plan that you're giving? Do people really value the benefit of a gym membership which they get through you as a free or a discounted membership? Does it really value? So show your leadership group, and I'll say not only leadership, the larger org, what is the ROI and what is the VOI of the benefits or the initiatives that you're driving, right? And then you have some traditional matrices that have always stood the test of time. Let's say your well-being scores, your usage of your employee assisted program. Are employees genuinely using it? Are the extended families using it? Do you see higher participation in the events, the activities, the whether it's the fun events or it's the wellness events? Are people really, is there a positive feedback on it? Are you seeing people coming in there, or you have to push people into it, right? And let's say, for example, we have like many orgs, we also have like a preventive health check, right? Now, are you year over year, do you see it showing any correlation with your overall healthcare cost? Is it going up? Is it going down for the same set of population? Now, there are these all the long list of matrices that you can tell your leadership group as well as the larger org why we need to invest where we need to invest. And also, you as an own HR org, if you are not seeing that correlation, then definitely you need to step back and rethink. So to get the leadership buy-in, to get the organization to chime in, you need to have some matrices and then some pulse on the ground, both coming together consistently, month over month, quarter over quarter, to tell where we are moving and is that in the right direction.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that, Abhishek. I think it's really in the articulation, how you tell the story of impact and value, right? That it's
Yeah.
really going to make that difference and get the leadership buy-in. So, thank you for sharing that. And we will speak about matrices a little later as well. I think we have a question on ROI, and I think we'll see an audience question as well. So, we'll dive a little bit into that as well. But before doing that, I wanted to also ask Jitin, when you think about wellness budgets, right? When companies think about it, what are you observing as, some of the most effective ways of budgeting for wellness programs? Because you work with a number of partners as well. So, what's working really well?
Yeah, I think I'll compare it to, let's say, what generally people were doing back, let's say 3, 4 years back, I would say, or 2, 3 years back. A lot of organizations were buying hospital covers, and these covers would range between, let's say, 1 lakh, and definitely I agree with Abhishek, 8 lakh is quite, generous a number in the context of what we see, Abhishek. So kudos on that. But generally, people would buy insurance, and it would cost them a fixed amount of money per employee. Now, the second stage of investment was whether you want to cover family members and how many family members, and would it cover, let's say, parents who could be senior citizens, and that would increase the cost by a certain number. On top of that, I think public data tells us that the cost of medical insurance or hospitalization cover specifically is going up by at least 15% annually. And if the claims become more pronounced, then those numbers could change depending upon the usage at a particular employer, because that's how the insurance companies would underwrite that particular employer for a certain cost. Now, this cost was to be agreed by an employer, and it could be a function of how much do you want to spend. It could be a function of what impact do you see as reasonable, what requirements do you see as reasonable. On top of this, I think we've seen that people are realizing that this cost is fixed in nature. Now, irrespective of how many people end up being in a hospital for a period of minimum 24 hours or more when this particular cover kicks in, forward looking employers or employers who are trying to be smart about their investment, they are now looking at facts that, hey, can I take a part of this money and cover, let's say, frequent use cases which do not require my employee to be in a hospital, for example, doctor consultations or preventive blood checkup or dental checkup or maybe fertility. Now, again, which is where Abhishek talked about, let's say, some sort of a grant, if I may say, or a loan. We have seen and we have created an embedded finance solution at 0% interest. So every employee can get, let's say, a credit limit of up to 10 lakh rupees, which they can use for certain medical procedures, especially those which are not covered by insurance. So, for example, personalization today, if you speak to people under 35 or at between 30 to 35 male, hair loss is a big problem. People may want to go for, let's say, a hair transplant, which may cost them 3 lakh, 4 lakh. Now, the employer may not want to pay for it and it's prohibitively expensive. Insurance will not cover it, which is where this embedded finance comes into the picture. Responsible finance. I can take that credit, I can repay. So I think employers are trying to improvise on allocation of budget, trying to optimize not only for hospitalization events, which are definitely less than 10% across India. So 90% people seldom use those benefits. So they're trying to use that money and trying to create occasions for an employee to experience wellness, which they will anyway need without getting hospitalized. So I think that allocation of smart money from hospitalization to non-hospitalization, I think that is where the return on investment, or as Abhishek talked about, value on investment, because the value you can make people recognize by the number of impact items that they have experienced, right? And then correlating that data with some other data to figure out that how the productivity has gone up, whether absenteeism has reduced, or I use this term called presentism, that you are present in office, but your performance is impaired because you have some stress, you have some physical or mental issues which is holding you back, right? So I think that's my view on how organizations are optimizing for return on investment towards healthcare and wellness, a judicious balance between time spent within a hospital and the bulk of time spent outside of hospital.
Absolutely. That's great. That's great, Jitin. Thank you for sharing that. And Abhishek and Purna, I want to come to you on this ROI question. I'm sure you're articulating this within your, organizations as well, right? Thinking about what are the metrics you need to present to leaders, how you're thinking about this incremental wellness measures. I think the question on from the audience is also on how do you understand the incremental wellness measures? I very pointed to what Abhishek you spoke about a little earlier. How are you thinking about this? Abhishek, do you want to start?
Yeah, so like I talked about earlier, both the ROI and the value on investment, the VOI, I think some are very traditional metrics that have been there. Um, uh, so things like what Jatin said, the turnover rate, or let's say the presence in office, your number of sick leaves going down. Now there is not never a very direct correlation every time, but if you measure for the same set of people, right, say every 2 months, 6 months, or whatever frequency you want, you will see definitely whether it is working or not. Then it's also about the value investment. Are you seeing more participation? Are you seeing more people um, trying it for the first time? So I think one of the very silent, and we have not cracked the code, but I believe that is one of the ways. Let's say, like I talked about, a lot of ERGs getting created and smaller groups practicing some hobby, some activity that they want to be together. And do you see a lot of first timers in those groups time and again? Right, that means you have enough pull. Do you see your healthcare cost, your for the same set of people, is it going down if you have been consistently running a pre-health check year on year? right? Do you see more people adopting to EAP, the Employee Assistance Program, and their families? Like, a lot of times when we do some of the wellness webinars, we extend it to the employees and we ask them to share that Zoom link or the Gmeet link with the entire family if they want. Let them come in, because those are programs which everybody can benefit from, right? Like in one of our companies where we have a lot of graduates and undergraduates working in a call center environment, a lot of those people were not able to kind of complete their education for various needs in their house, because they were supposed to start their work life very early. Now we have done a tie-up with a university which not only provides distant online learning and weekend classes for graduates and post graduation in all streams, but also at 50% of the cost what they charge regularly, which is extended to employee and their family if they want. Now, so what I'm saying is that you have to look at a lot of bringing in the employee and the family, and then try and see what we can do about it.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that, Abhishek. Look at your employee and the family and then work from there. Purna, do you want to add to this? How are you thinking about ROI in wellness? Purna, you're on mute. You'll have to unmute yourself.
I am not on mute. Am I audible?
Yeah, you're unmuted now.
Am I
Yes.
audible?
Yes,
Okay.
we can hear you.
So today, most of the organizations are shifting from allocating fixed budgets towards wellness spend. Instead, they are linking wellness as an investment toward that employee and towards the key outcomes. Like there are organizations who have seen the wellness programs are giving outcomes linked to attrition, uh, then productivity increase, right? It absolutely, you can see that in the employees, the way the pro- pro- productivity increases. It's a value that the employer gives to an employee, right? Like Abhishek said, right? The absenteeism or the burnout rate will also decrease due to this. We should not focus this as a program, but we should build small focus on habits which will absolutely change, and employees will start valuing it. This program should be inclusive in design, where employees can use it in their daily routines.
Absolutely, absolutely. What are some examples maybe of that, right? So, this is an open question for everyone before we jump into the final question, and we have some audience questions as well. But anything on daily wellness habits or behaviors, Jitin, that you observe works very well?
Yeah, I think something which is most frequent in our life is food. And we believe that a personalized diet plan goes a long way in ensuring physical fitness of people and keeping them disease free. Especially if somebody has some chronic ailments, then having the right diet makes a lot of sense, because you will probably have 3 meals a day, which means you will have a very high impact through the month. 90 times you can just coach yourself to eat better. So we believe that that's very impactful, and much less talked about in the Indian context. But I think that sensitization is growing quite aggressively. That is one. Then, using AI today, there are various interventions that you can make on the mental aspect of an individual as well. For example, we are working on an AI-based face scanner, wherein you can scan your face and we can tell you your stress levels. And I think we've seen in the pilot group where we are running this already that a lot of people are very inquisitive. So they would scan their face and it'll tell you your blood pressure, it'll tell you your oxygen level, it'll tell you your stress level. And I think today people do want to check for that, optimize for that. They want to take digital detox. So this is something that they can measure, that I've had a prolonged exposure to a screen, and can I just check how are my parameters? It's like an extension of a wearable, but now it can be made available through a mobile app, possibly. So I think that can be very frequent. There have been things like step counters. They've been around for a while, that you can count how many steps you're walking. But and then of course, let's say if you want to inculcate that habit, you can encourage people to do 6 monthly body checkups, so that they are aware as to what's happening inside of their bodies. And preventive checkups, a stitch in time will save nine. I think that adage still applies quite. It is very very applicable. So I think these are some of the regular features in healthcare that one could encourage, one could use. And I think that becomes daily in nature, whether it is food, exercise. So inculcating, let's say, a culture of physical fitness, and encouraging people to go to a gym, probably, or some other form of fitness that they may want to avail. I think these are very high impact items, and definitely have a direct impact on disease patterns. And the quantum of acute diseases can be controlled using these daily wellness habits.
Absolutely. I'm sorry. All right. Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that, Jitin. I think all of the things that you outlined are really wellness in the flow of work and life, right? So whether you're eating, your stress levels, your screen time is actually skyrocketed, and so is stress also. So, and I think, I mean, some people are realizing this, but there is a lot of ways of just tracking your screen time and getting that feedback for yourself to change behavior as well. So I think a lot of data also is readily available in your phones these days, and we just have to look that up. And exercise also, like you pointed out, is a very important and daily habit that's very crucial. Okay, so I think for a closing question, and then we'll jump to one or two audience questions, is on what does the future look like, right? What does the future of daily wellness look like in the workplace for you? And what are some trends or technologies that are on your radar as business leaders and HR leaders? What is really exciting for you as you look at maybe the next 1 or 2 years in this wellness space? Abhishek, can we start with you?
Yeah, so I think, in my view, going back to my earlier point, hyper personalization, any technology which gives uh, choice in the hand of the employees to decide how they want to consume the wellness package or the program that you might have. Now, whether it is your insurance, whether it is your mental well-being, whether it is your physical well-being, any aspect. So, like in UB, we have a theme of culture of inclusion, right? And going back to the point, that are we integrating into your day-to-day life? Culture inclusion is a huge, is a very big umbrella, in which one of the tracks talks about resilience, which is your mental, physical, emotional, all the three aspects, and social. So in that track, hyper personalization, because I think we are in an era uh, where choice has to be in the hand of employee, because no one person or a group of people sitting can define for rest of the org what will work. So hyper personalization is one. And I think the second piece, which I'm still to see a very integrated solution, is a end-to-end holistic view of what people are consuming, what is working, what is not working, links to reward, linked to performance, linked to their life journey in an organization. So like an end-to-end view about employee, where well-being is integrated and embedded in it. So from a leadership perspective, that's the view I want to have. And from an employee perspective, I want to give more choice to the employee to design the package that they want. So I think for me, these two are the themes, and I would love to see how it evolves in the coming years. And with AI now playing, it should actually be more predictive, and predictive healthcare is already now there, with wearable devices and health monitors and everything. So I think it's a beautiful time to have these things now coming together.
Absolutely. Jitin?
No, I think I agree with what Abhishek has said, and personalized healthcare along with options to, let's say, pay for things which may not be covered through traditional means, like embedded finance. We see a big take up rate. Like in our country, you can buy a mobile phone on zero cost EMIs. So why can you not, let's say, pay for your dermatology treatment with the same, let's say, lens? Is something that we are big fans of, and I think we are seeing that lakhs of people are taking that up very aggressively. So I think personalized healthcare options, flexible payment plans for items which are not covered by insurance, I think is going to be a very, very big part, because as we become more prosperous as a society, people would want to spend on their personal health and wellness and nutrition and elective treatments, as they are called. So I
Yeah.
think this is going to be very, very pronounced, and use of AI for preventive care and personalized, let's say, advice for managing your healthcare and securing the best outcome for yourself. I think these are three items that I would stick my neck out and say that they'll be quite impactful, and we will see very clearly pronounced trends in this regard, is what I feel.
Absolutely. I think the way AI is evolving, I mean, it's anyone's guess. I don't know how fast it's going to go. Every week there are new models and new applications, and I think it's going to be a very exciting space and time. But yeah, on the financial side, I think the idea of embedded finance, and I think sort of having more options for people to exercise what they want from a wellness perspective is definitely very exciting. Purna, anything that you'd like to add to this that's exciting for you?
I agree with Abhishek and Jitin. The future of wellness is going to be deeply personalization with AI. I'm excited to see where is AI going to help with wellness. We will be able to see data driven wellness. We will be able to see time and data, right? We'll see with AI coming in, we will be able to see time in data. There will be a lot of change in the way the wearable integrations going to happen, right? We will be able to see real time tracking of stress, fatigue, and all. Of all the above, I assume AI is going to change the way proactive wellness ecosystem is going to be.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think technology is one theme that sort of informing the future, right? Right, from wearable devices to what are the data points that can accumulate to inform your wellness strategy, how you're using AI, and how you're bringing this integration piece that Abhishek spoke about as well. That's going to be very central to that lived experience of wellness in the future. So thank you for sharing that. Um, yeah, Jitin, is there something you'd like to add to this?
No, I think we've covered a lot of interesting topics, and I think we've all spoken about the future of how employee wellness is evolving, and very, very pertinent questions have been possibly taken up by yourself and by everybody in the panel. Yeah.
Yeah, wonderful. Wonderful. All right. So, quickly, I think on audience questions, I do see that we've covered some of this, so I would not want to repeat them. But there's one question on what tools can help leaders make informed budgeting decisions. Is there something that you can share as business and HR leaders here? Also keeping the personalized aspect in mind. I'm sure we've spoken a little bit about this at length, whether it comes to insurance, whether it comes to public data, how to benchmark yourself and your organizations as well. And also, I think the piece that Abhishek spoke about is finding out what works for your organization's context and articulating that, I think, will really be helpful when you're thinking about budgets, when you're thinking about, where you need to invest. So anything else that we can sort of add for this question? Abhishek, anything else that you feel?
I think you have to rely on your institution knowledge. If you are a new company, take the plunge, use the industry report, and start with something what your budget allows. Then, as you spend 2 3 years, you'll have a pattern emerging, and then that pattern should guide where you want to invest and how you want to invest. Classic case being, say, your EAP programs, right? A lot of companies tie up with a lot of EAP partners. Now you start with something because is the in thing in the market. This is what you somebody referred to you. That's how practically it happens, right? And then over 2 3 years, you see, okay, are people actually using, what kind of services they're using, and then you start talking to your EA partner. How can you customize it for the audience that you have? Similarly on insurance, similarly on a lot of those memberships that you offer, like Jitin was talking about, let's say meal programs. So if you have seen a lot of uptake on your meal programs, you may want to invest there, because eventually all these things have to matter to the employee for whom you're doing, right? So I think if you are day zero, go with the industry report, go with ref, start with something within the budget that you have. Then over 2 3 years, observe the pattern by experimenting a lot of things, and then you'll arrive, okay, what is your moat and where do you want to go? So I think it takes that institutional knowledge to build up.
Right, right. Wonderful. Okay, so I think we had another question on holistic wellness offerings. I feel we've covered this at length. Right from daily touch points to how can you think about insurance and, how do you think about embedded finance? And it's not just like, I think we grounded the fact that it's not just hospitalization. It's also about life at work. It also is about what are nice to haves, what are people doing outside of work to look and feel good, dental checkups to diet plans. So I think it's the entirety of it, right? Through our life and work, that's going to make it holistic. So, okay, I think we've covered a fair bit and a lot of exciting ideas as well. And I want to thank our speakers today for taking time and sharing all of this knowledge and insight. And given a very structured perspective to how you should think about your strategy in place from now to the near future. And this is a very exciting space that will continue to evolve. So we will continue to have such more conversations in the future as well. So if you have any more further questions for our audience, we'll encourage you to write into us. We will direct it to our speakers offline. They can, continue to have these conversations as well. And do let us know how you felt at the session. We'll also circulate the survey as well. Thanks to our speakers. Thank you, Abhishek, Jitin, and Purna for taking time and making this very, very exciting conversation today.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you so much for,
Thank
Thank
for
you.
you,
having
everyone.
me here,
Thank
and
you so
pleasure
much.
talking to everyone. Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, and have a great day, everyone. Bye bye.
Thanks, everyone.